Man, I was way out of line that night.
Yeah, we were both getting pretty hot-headed.
You know, at first I was laughing because you guys were racing so pathetically. But when you started shouting at each other, bros, you got me real worried.
It probably would have escalated too, but then we got interrupted.
We did?
Remember, dude? That ominous roaring sound?
It was more of a screeching.
Or a whale.
Yeah, but a whale would have been more like, "Aye," and this was more like a...
I remember. You guys can stop now.
And then we rushed over to where the sound came from.
Well, I rushed over. You guys kind of followed along slowly.
You ran off without us.
You wanted to wait before doing anything.
You wanted to jump blindly into danger.
Guys, whatever.
Hello everyone, welcome back to TMNT, and oh boy, do they really mess up a lot of stuff in this level. Not in the gameplay, necessarily, but in the story. So, in the TMNT film, there are monsters, and in the TMNT video game, which we are playing currently, there are also monsters. The monsters somehow make less of an appearance in the video game than they do in the movie, even though the game has more time to introduce and play with them. So, you know, that's already a little weird, but the reason things are less than ideal about this whole monster situation is that they never explain what the monsters do in the video game. In the film, the monsters are core to the central conflict. In the video game, you never really learn much about the monsters. And I thought that was very weird, but maybe they were saving it for some big exposition at the end of the game, you know? The thing about that is that the lack of explanation for the monsters, that's foreshadowing to how the game handles the climax of the film. Which is bad, because the climax of the film is the best part of the film. So ignoring the fact that we're currently chasing down a monster with no context, and ignoring that we will never receive context for this event, this level's not so bad. It's not so good either though, and I mostly attribute that to the fact that it's very hard to distinguish it from the previous location, aside from the change in day. It's a different time of day now. There are actually a lot of interesting opportunities in a level like this to show the monster breaking through walls and us following in its wake of destruction, but they barely capitalize on that idea. We don't see the monster very much, and we also don't see the destruction it causes very much. It's not like the monster's appearance is super intimidating either, so this isn't a situation where hiding the monster for the majority of the level is a good idea. I don't know, am I incorrect about this stage blending in to the last one? I know there's a combat section upcoming, and the fact that we're fighting Foot Ninja in the same level where we're chasing down a monster reminds me of how great the plot of the TMNT film is. And, again, very upsetting. Hey look, one of the few situations where we get to see the monster do something, and it's thoroughly underwhelming. So I think it would be fair to call this a minor complaint, but it really bothers me that at several points in the game there are giant graffiti drawings of the Night Watcher. Some of them are more reasonably sized than others, but that one the monster busted through, that's a completely unreasonable size, especially considering the Night Watcher is a vigilante. I know some street artists take their craft very seriously, and I commend them for that, but I don't think they take it seriously enough to get the shit beaten out of them by purple dragons because they spent 12 plus hours working on a giant piece of art of the Night Watcher. But you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this street artist was just particularly brave, or he had a whole group of friends with him. And him and his group of friends also painted identical graffiti all across the city. Again, yes, a very petty complaint, but this is why you don't reuse unique bits of scenery too much, because they cease being unique very quickly. So it turns out the monster appears and smashes through walls a lot more frequently than I originally thought. You figure I'd remember something like that because I played this game recently. Maybe my standards are just set far too high from playing Ultimate Spider-Man, because the Rhino chase in Ultimate Spider-Man is excellent. But still, the level is better at capitalizing on the idea of chasing the monster than, hey look, more Night Watcher graffiti. As I was saying, the level is better at capitalizing on its idea than I originally thought, so I should give it credit for that. We're almost to the part of the level where things get mixed up, and I think the platforming takes a huge turn for the better. If I remember correctly, right in here, we start platforming across some more electrified water. Not lava, it's not lava, it's electrified water. And even though platforming across the electrified water isn't bad, it's not the highlight of coming down here. There's one hazard I really enjoy in this particular section of the level. It gets its own music and everything too, right up here. We go down these slopes, and the slopes have rushing water that pull us downward, which means we go at an increased speed, and we have to time our double jumps over the pits even better than normal. Now, the timing is still very lenient, which is saying something because it probably already looks very lenient. But still, it requires more precision than most of the platforming in the game, and it's fun. The jumps vary in length too, so, you know, it's a good set piece, and it adds a well-needed unique platforming element to this level, which otherwise doesn't have very much unique platforming to speak of. As soon as we come to this underground section, the level immediately transitions from, is this level going to end sometime, to, oh hey, here's where the fun was, it was just in the underground section for some reason. Lots of pipes to swing on, lots of water to jump over, lots of wreckage, and a whole 2D platforming segment up here shortly. The thing I remember most about this 2D platforming segment in here is that I always think it's later in the game than it is, but no, it's right here in level 7. Just about halfway through the game. I like this 2D platforming segment a lot, because there's a ton of stuff in this area that you can use to go faster. There's a really slow route you can take through, but if you know what you're doing, you can take several shortcuts to get to the top quicker. And again, the only sad thing here is that I always think this is in the wrong level. I always think it's later in the game than it is, but no, this is a great section that rewards you for thinking fast. I used to wonder why there weren't more sections like this in the levels with alternate pathways that rewarded you for thinking harder about where you're going to go next, but I think I figured it out. I think it's because it's a lot easier to do that in 2D sections than in 3D ones. Of course, I can't know that for sure, but I just think that that it's much easier to demand a higher level of environmental awareness in a 2D section where the camera's zoomed that far out. But yes, I love that underground section. It absolutely makes the level for me.
That is why you never mess with a hungry turtle.
I hope you're enjoying this new editing format for the combat sections, because I am not talking over all the combat sections in this game. So it's time for the boss, where we face down the monster, and also the most embarrassing moment in my career of Let's Plays. See, that was supposed to hit the monster. You see, when I used Raphael to throw Leo, that was supposed to hit the monster, not completely miss him. So, now my whole strategy for this boss fight is ruined. Because I missed the monster with Raphael's family attack, Raphael just kind of left. And Raphael's family attack is always what I use to fight this monster. I lure the monster into smashing into a wall, and then I hit the monster with Raphael's family attack, because his family attack is a projectile, which makes this fight a piece of cake. And every other time I've done this boss fight, that worked perfectly. Just not this time. So even though there is a strategy you're supposed to use when you don't have Raphael, I don't know what that is, because it never came up before. You know, I was absolutely, completely certain throughout this entire level that I wouldn't need an alternate strategy for the boss. It just never occurred to me, because why would I? Raphael's attack is always hit. But no, I missed. I goofed it up. So now you get to watch this boss kick my ass. I suppose, in a way, that in addition to serving as a reminder that I do indeed mess up in video games sometimes, this section also shows the danger in misusing family attacks, because all it took was one miss and Raphael left during a boss battle. So you need to use the family attacks very well, because there is risk involved.
Come here, you big furry monster, you! Come on!
There might be a way to use its anger against it.
If we can lure him into one of the support beams, we might be able to knock him out.
Way to go!
Hey!
Excellent! And that's how it's done. Turtle style.
Yeah, and we managed to keep the building standing. That's a first.